There are places on this earth that do not care about your plans. Your experience does not matter. Your preparation does not matter. Your intentions, your survival skills, your equipment, your confidence, none of it matters. Because some places have a way of taking people in and simply not giving them back. And the most terrifying concentration of those places on Earth is not in the Arctic, not in the Amazon, not in the depths of the ocean. It is in Asia.
By the time we get to number 1, you will understand why Asia is the most extraordinary and most terrifying continent on Earth. And if you want more content like this, hit subscribe right now. Every video on this channel goes places most channels will not. Let us start. Number 7. Aokigahara, Japan's suicide forest. At the base of Mount Fuji in Japan, there is a forest that the Japanese government has tried, with limited success, to make disappear from public consciousness. They stopped publishing the death statistics in 2010. They erected signs at the entrance urging visitors to reconsider. They run annual patrols, police, volunteers, and journalists searching through the trees.
And the forest keeps taking people. Aokigahara is a forest on the northwestern flank of Mount Fuji on the island of Honshu in Japan, thriving on 30 square kilometers of hardened lava laid down by the last major eruption of Mount Fuji in 864 CE. In 2003, 105 bodies were found in the forest, exceeding the previous record of 78 in 2002. 105 bodies in a single year, in a single forest. The porous lava rock absorbs sound, contributing to a sense of solitude that some visitors attribute to the forest. When you walk into Aokigahara, the sound disappears. The lava rock beneath the soil absorbs it. The density of the trees blocks it. You can be meters from another person and hear nothing. The silence is so complete and so immediate that visitors consistently describe it as one of the most unsettling experiences of their lives.
The forest is also said to be home to yurei, the ghosts of the dead that harbor a penchant for vengefulness, according to Japanese mythology. Many locals and Japanese people do not dare enter the suicide forest. The forest has forbidden zones beyond the marked trails, areas where the undergrowth is dense enough that a person could walk 20 meters off the path and become completely invisible from anyone searching for them. In 2010, the Japanese government stopped sharing the number of deaths that occur in the forest to stave off the morbid stories that feed into Aokigahara's darker history. They stopped counting publicly, but the searches continue every year through trees that have been growing on hardened lava for over 1,000 years.
Aokigahara does not kill you with teeth or venom or altitude. It kills you with silence. And the people who walk into it and do not come back walked in on their own terms. That is both the saddest and the most important thing about this place. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. In Japan, the crisis line is 0120-783-556. In most countries, a crisis line exists. Use it. Number 6. The Korean Demilitarized Zone, the most dangerous border on Earth. It is 250 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide. It divides a peninsula. It separates families. It has not been formally ended. Technically, the Korean War never ended, only paused by an armistice in 1953. And it is lined on both sides by one of the densest concentrations of military force anywhere on Earth.
The Korean Demilitarized Zone is a border barrier that divides the peninsula roughly in half. On either side of the zone, the border is heavily militarized. The zone is a front line in the ongoing Korean conflict. The DMZ is not just dangerous because of the soldiers and the guns and the landmines, though all of those exist in abundance. It is dangerous because of what it represents. 2 nuclear-armed states, one of them openly hostile to outsiders, separated by a strip of land that nobody is supposed to enter. The landmines alone make casual crossing effectively suicidal. The minefields are not fully mapped even now. Some were laid decades ago with incomplete records. The exact locations of some of them are simply unknown.
And yet, the DMZ has produced one of the most extraordinary ironies in nature. Because nobody has walked freely in this strip of land for over 70 years, it has become one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in Asia. Rare species of birds, endangered animals, plants that have grown undisturbed for 7 decades because the land is too dangerous for humans to enter. A paradise created by a war that never officially ended. The DMZ is a place where the presence of death has produced an accidental miracle of life, and where a single misstep in the wrong direction across the wrong line remains as fatal as it was in 1953. Number 5. K2, the mountain that kills 1 in 4. Everyone has heard of Everest. Nobody talks about K2. That asymmetry is part of what makes K2 so dangerous. It sits on the border between Pakistan and China. It is the second highest mountain on Earth, 8,611 meters above sea level. And it has a death rate that makes Everest look almost manageable by comparison. K2's fatality rate stands at approximately 23 to 25% historically, and around 12 to 13% in the modern era. Everest's fatality rate is approximately 1 to 2%. The gap is enormous. 1 in 8 climbers who attempt K2 in the modern era do not come back. Historically, 1 in 4 did not survive. If the serac collapses while you are beneath it, there is no escape. In 2008, it did exactly that. In 2008, one of these seracs collapsed, causing a disaster that killed 11 climbers. 11 climbers in a single afternoon because ice moved. All 14 peaks above 8,000 meters in the death zone are located in the Himalaya and Karakoram regions of Asia. Every mountain on Earth with a death zone is in Asia, all 14 of them. And K2 is the one that has been killing the best climbers in the world at the highest rate for as long as humans have been attempting it. In 2024, 2 skilled Japanese climbers were lost on the mountain, attempting a new route. Their bodies have not been recovered. K2 does not forgive. It does not negotiate. It simply waits.
Number 4. The Philippine Trench, the abyss that swallows ships. Most people have heard of the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in the ocean. Far fewer people have heard of the Philippine Trench. It runs along the eastern coast of the Philippines. It plunges to a depth of approximately 10,540 meters, making it one of the deepest oceanic trenches on Earth. It sits directly on one of the most tectonically active regions of the planet, and the waters above it have swallowed ships, planes, and people with a regularity that the Pacific region's weather and seismic activity make almost inevitable.
The Philippine Sea, the body of water above this trench, is one of the most dangerous stretches of ocean in the world. It generates some of the strongest typhoons on Earth. Typhoon Yagi, which struck in September 2024, produced winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour and generated waves that overturned vessels, wiped out coastal infrastructure, and killed hundreds of people across the region. The combination of the deep trench below and the extreme weather above creates conditions that have sent vessels to the bottom never to be recovered. When a ship or a plane goes into the Philippine Trench, it falls for hours before hitting the bottom. At those depths, under pressures that would crush a submarine, nothing can be retrieved.
Nothing can be searched. The ocean floor at that depth is one of the least explored environments on Earth. People have gone into these waters and simply ceased to exist as far as the recoverable world is concerned. The Philippine Trench does not take, it absorbs. Number 3, North Korea, the country you cannot leave. North Korea is not a natural danger zone. It is a man-made one. And in some ways, that makes it more terrifying because the danger is deliberate, designed, maintained by a government that has spent 7 decades perfecting the infrastructure of control. North Korea ranks 149th globally on the 2025 Global Peace Index. Its travel danger looks different from that of an open war zone, but it is still severe. The U.S. advisory is level 4, do not travel, and warns of arrest, long-term detention, and wrongful detention targeting U.S. citizens. People who enter North Korea, even authorized visitors on sanctioned tours, have been arrested, detained for years, subjected to forced confessions, and in documented cases, returned home in states of severe physical and psychological deterioration. Otto Warmbier was an American university student who visited North Korea on a tour in 2016. He was arrested, sentenced to 15 years of hard labor for allegedly attempting to steal a propaganda poster, and returned to the United States 17 months later in a comatose state. He died 6 days after his return. He was 22 years old. For North Korean citizens themselves, the situation is categorically worse. The country operates a system of political prison camps, known as Kwanliso, where entire families are imprisoned for the perceived crimes of one member. Defectors who have escaped describe conditions that human rights organizations have compared to historical concentration camps. North Korea is treated as one of the world's most militarized states. The risk to outsiders is tied less to ordinary tourism friction. North Korea is a place where entry is controlled and exit is not guaranteed, where the rules change without notice, where foreign nationals have been held for years with no recourse, no trial, and no certainty of return. It is a country that has turned its entire geography into a place of no return, not through nature, but through policy. Number 2,
North Sentinel Island, the island that kills you for arriving. 50 kilometers from the modern city of Port Blair in the Indian Ocean, there is an island of approximately 60 square kilometers covered in dense forest. It has a beach. It has coconut palms. From the water, it looks like a paradise. It is one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The indigenous Sentinelese peoples living on North Sentinel Island in Southeast Asia's Andaman Sea would like to be left alone. The island's inhabitants, estimated to number between 50 and 200 people, are serious about their solitude, and interlopers attempting to intrude on one of the world's last uncontacted tribes have found themselves paying with their lives. The Sentinelese have lived on this island for an estimated 50,000 to 75,000 years. They have never been contacted.
They have never integrated with the outside world. They have no immunity to the diseases of the modern world. A common cold introduced to the island could theoretically destroy their entire population, and they make their position on visitors absolutely clear. The dangers of approaching North Sentinel Island became tragically clear in 2006 when 2 fishermen were killed after drifting too close, and their bodies were later washed up on shore. In October 2018, American adventure blogger and evangelical missionary John Chow defied bans by the Indian government and accessed North Sentinel, where he was promptly killed.
John Allen Chow had spent years preparing for this moment. He had undergone what he described as an 11-day self-purification process. He had researched the island. He had brought gifts. And on the day he approached, the Sentinelese killed him. His body was never recovered. The Indian government, which strictly forbids access to the island, declined to attempt retrieval out of respect for the tribe's autonomy. In 2025, another American social media influencer defied the ban and landed on the island for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. He survived, barely. And what he found when he got there, he has not fully described. Because there are things that happen in those 5 minutes that no Instagram caption can contain.
The Indian government has banned all approach within 5 nautical miles of the island. The ban exists to protect the Sentinelese from disease, but it also exists because everyone who has ignored it has either died or come closer to death than they ever want to again. North Sentinel Island is a place where the no return is enforced not by nature, but by people who have been saying no for 50,000 years. Number 1. K2's Death Zone, where the mountain takes back what it owns. We began with K2 at number 5. We end with it again at number 1. Because no location on Earth embodies the concept of no return more completely than K2's Death Zone, the region above 8,000 meters, where the atmosphere is so thin that human life cannot be sustained for any extended period.
In mountaineering, the death zone refers to altitudes above which the pressure of oxygen is insufficient to sustain human life for an extended time span. This point is generally considered to be 8,000 meters, where atmospheric pressure is less than 356 millibars. Above 8,000 meters on K2, your body is dying. Not might be dying, is dying. Every minute you spend above that altitude without supplemental oxygen, and even with it, your brain cells are being lost. Your decision-making deteriorates. Your body begins consuming its own muscle tissue for energy. Your fingers and toes begin to freeze.
Many deaths in high-altitude mountaineering have been caused by the effects of the death zone, either directly by the loss of vital functions or indirectly by poor decisions made under stress, not turning back in deteriorating conditions, or misreading the climbing route, or physical weakening leading to accidents. The cruelest thing about the death zone is what it does to your judgment, precisely when you need your judgment most. Climbers in the death zone have been documented making decisions that were obviously fatal to observers lower on the mountain, decisions the climbers themselves did not recognize as fatal, because the altitude had already compromised their ability to understand their own situation. And on K2, unlike other mountains, when something goes wrong in the death zone, there is almost no possibility of external rescue. Above the bottleneck, survival depends entirely on personal capability. No external rescue system exists. Helicopters cannot operate at that altitude. Lower camp climbers who attempt to help risk their own lives on the unstable Serac terrain. No rescue, no helicopter, no one coming for you. If you go down in K2's death zone, the mountain keeps you. Your body, preserved by the cold, becomes part of the mountain itself. There are climbers on K2 right now who will never be brought down, whose families know where they are and cannot reach them, who are frozen in place on the savage mountain, having gone somewhere they could not come back from.
K2 does not take dramatically. It takes quietly. It takes incrementally. It takes one bad decision,
and one exhausted step, and one moment of deteriorating judgment in a place where help is not coming. And then, it simply holds on. Outro. 7 places in Asia where people go and do not always come back. A forest in Japan where silence swallows sound and takes people who walk too far from the trail. A border in Korea made of landmines and 70 years of unresolved war. A mountain in Pakistan that kills 1 in 8 of the most skilled climbers alive. An abyss in the Philippine Sea deep enough to hide what falls into it forever. A country in Northeast Asia where entry is permitted and exit is not guaranteed. An island in the Indian Ocean where 50,000 years of isolation is enforced by arrows. And a death zone in the Himalayas where every mountain above 8,000 meters on Earth is located and where the air itself becomes a weapon. Asia is extraordinary. Its history, its cultures, its people, its biodiversity, its rise as the dominant economic and cultural force of the 21st century. And it contains within it these places where the earth, or the sea, or the people, or the altitude, or the politics have created conditions that remind us, in the most fundamental possible way, that there are still corners of this planet that do not belong to us. Approach them knowing that. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Share this video with someone who thinks they know what Asia is. They know part of it. Now, they know a little more.